Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday. I don't know how many of you noticed that I did not do a podcast yesterday because plan is to always do it on Mondays, right? Well, yesterday I didn't, and I've got a reason for it. We don't need to go labeling it good or bad or anything, but I have a reason. Yesterday I was depressed, and I spent all day long in bed. So this still does happen to me, obviously. Just because I am a life coach and I have medication for my depression does not mean I am immune to days of depression. It still happens, but they're very different now than they used to be before I learned about mind management. Like night and day difference. Before, when I would get depressed, I would, yes, spend all day in bed. Sometimes it was several days in a row, just hoping and wishing that eventually it would go away so that I could get up and get a couple of things done, and then hope that it didn't pick back up the day after. Now, well, excuse me, not now. Let's keep with before. I would lay in bed and I would try really hard to not think about what was making me depressed. And I still do that, but I would be on my phone all day or reading a book or trying to sleep. Even if I wasn't tired, I was trying to sleep. And every time I stopped, scrolling Facebook or whatnot, I would think about how horrible I am, how I am so lazy and how I'm not there for my kids and how I'm not a good wife because I'm not contributing and how I was ruining my body because it wasn't up moving and I wanted to have a healthy body and all these things. Like, am I really a good person or am I a horrible person who sometimes gets up and pretends to be a good person? And it was just all these terrible thoughts and they would compound on one another. Right? And this is what would happen as I would sit in bed, but I was too depressed to get out of bed. It's like, well, you get up, things are just going to be worse for you. So you might as well sit here and beat yourself up, right? So that's what I did, and it was awful. And I'm sure that that's what depression is like for a lot of you. And it has been so bad that I would wonder if I was the kind of person that was worth keeping around. So I've been there. And it's really rough. It's not a fun place to be. So yeah, dark days, let's call it that. But now I still lay in bed. I still scroll Facebook. I'm still trying not to think about all these horrible things, right? All the things I'm not doing. But I always, in the back of my mind, remember that this does not affect my value, that I am still a good person. I always remember that just because I'm laying in bed today does not mean I'm going to or have to stay in bed tomorrow. Basically, I don't make it mean all the horrible things that I used to make it mean about myself. And this is ongoing work that I'm doing. This is what I'm doing all the time for myself, and what I'm trying to teach my clients to do is to have those moments of depression and allow them and to work through them. And remember who you are and that this is happening for a reason. And for me, the reason is to figure out how to work through it so I can teach other people how to work through it. And I know that there's so much more to it than that. I know that I'm growing in ways that I don't see or understand. But just knowing that it's happening for a reason, for a very good reason, is very comforting to me. So yesterday I was depressed and I sat in bed all day. And I cried a little bit before I went to sleep. And this morning, I'm like, hey, well, how do I want today to be different? And what did I learn? So I'm going to tell you what I really learned yesterday. Because yesterday, well, I mean, it sucked. But it was such a good opportunity for me because I got up this morning and I really dug in to what's been going on and why I'm feeling depressed right now. So that brings me to today's topic, which is processing stress. I'm sure we can all benefit from this, so I hope you're paying attention. Sometimes stress is really obvious. Like, oh my heck, I have so much more to do this week than I had last week, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get it all done. That's obvious, right? But sometimes stress can be a real sneaky bugger. And that's what it's been for me these last couple of weeks. Think about a wedding, right? If you're getting married, you're so excited, and it's so fun to plan, right? Like, what colors are we going to have, and what are the desserts going to be? And oh, I'm so excited to go pick out my dress, right? Really exciting and fun, but it's also really stressful. And if we're not paying attention, that stress can really hurt us, right? So for me, I've got 4 kids. I've got a husband who works full time. I've got 2 foreign exchange students, and I'm working on this new business, right? And I love it. I enjoy it. But I have spent a lot of time thinking things like, this is so hard. This is too much. How can I do this all? I'm not sure that I can do this all, right? But then I would stop and say, no, you don't have to do it all. It's okay. You want to do this, and this is fun, and you got this. And so then I would go back and forth on it, right? And I wasn't allowing myself to feel stressed. It's like, no, don't you feel stressed. You're fine. Just keep going. Just keep going. So I was suppressing, I was like resisting all this stress that I was feeling until yesterday, I finally just broke, right? And I spent the day in bed not doing anything at all. That is something that Brooke Castillo likes to call buffering. Buffering is something that you do that is something you do to avoid feeling negative emotion that has a negative consequence on the back end. So for a lot of people, this is alcohol, right? Or overeating. For me, it's Facebook. For some people, it's Instagram or Twitter. Gambling, right? These things that we can do that will give us this hit of dopamine. It'll make us feel good for a little while. But then later we have to deal with the consequences of having neglected our responsibilities, or a hangover, or being overweight, being sick, things like that, right? So I was trying to resist feeling stressed. I was trying to resist feeling depressed because of how much stress I had. Because negative emotions build on one another, right? So I'm feeling stressed, and I feel guilty for feeling stressed when this is something I chose and it should be fun, and I shouldn't be feeling stressed. So therefore I feel bad about myself, and that increases the depression. It's such a fun train to be on, right? So instead of letting it spiral out of control like that, the goal and the work that I try to do is to feel that stress, is to identify it and then process through it so that it can have its time and then go away. Instead of staying with me and me trying to fight against it, and it's staying there until I just break down, right? Because I mean, if your go-to is food, right? I have this bad emotion. I'm going to go get some food. I'm not even hungry. I'm just going to eat this. And it tastes good. and it feels good, right? You get that dopamine hit and you're like, oh, this is life. I love food. And then later, after you're done eating this food, you're like, oh yeah, I still feel really bad about this one thing. And now I have a stomach ache. Not really what we were after, right? We didn't want to still feel bad afterward. We didn't want to, and we certainly didn't want to add a stomach ache or being overweight to it. But we did because our brain is trying to protect us, right? And they see these negative emotions as dangers to us. They're like, oh no, that's dangerous. You don't want to feel that way. That's a horrible feeling. You need to get out. You know what feels really good? Food. You know what feels really good? Heroin, right? Yeah, don't go do heroin. It's bad for you. So what I want to offer to you is that emotions actually aren't that dangerous. Emotions begin in the brain and then they travel to your body. Whereas if you were in real pain, that would start somewhere in your body, like in your finger. If you were to smash your finger, it would start in your finger and go to your brain and tell you you're in pain, right? Whereas emotions are just this, we have this thought that releases a chemical that creates a feeling, just a vibration in our body. It's just a vibration. It's neither scary nor dangerous. See, these feelings come in really handy with things like like if you're hunting and it's bear country or something like that, or if you're camping and it's bear country and you're off kind of in the middle of nowhere and you hear a noise or a growl, then you get this thought in your brain, maybe that's a bear. And then fight or flight kicks in, right? And that's really good for your survival, right? Those kinds of feelings. Emotions are really good for us that way. But living in the suburbs where there's no bears, you're probably not going to be in that kind of danger. But your lower brain is still working on that. They're like, we are still on the lookout for dangerous things. And in our case, in this day and age, it's usually negative emotions. And when we get these negative emotions, we feel these vibrations in our bodies, all of a sudden we have to act on it, right? If we're angry, we want to yell. If we are scared, we want to run. So those things happen, right? So in my case, I was feeling stressed and then depressed, and so I sat and did nothing for an entire 24 hours, and it was ridiculous. Like, it doesn't affect my value, but it wasn't fun, you know? It's not like that's how I want to spend my day. So what if instead of doing those things that these emotions kind of drive us to doing, whether it's running or yelling or sitting in bed, what if we just sat and felt that vibration? What if you just sat and thought, this is stress. I'm feeling stress in my body. There's a chemical that's being set off by these sentences in my brain that is causing me stress. Now just with that one step, naming it, you have awareness over it, which automatically gives you some power over it, right? It's no longer hiding like it was for me. I was hiding it. I wasn't naming it. I wasn't saying you're stress. I was saying, oh, there's too much to do. Don't think that, Angie. Don't think that. We're just going to push through. Did not work because I let it hide. And when things are hiding, they have more power than we do, right? So name it. Bring it out into the open. Be like, I see you. I know what's going on, right? By the way, that's step 1 to these 6 steps that I'm going to give you on how to feel any emotion. So this is how you process stress or sadness or anxiety. being annoyed, right? This is how you process all of that. So you're going to name it in one word. Okay? So this is stress, or this is sadness, or this is depression. And then you're going to find it in your body, because we all feel these vibrations in different places of our body. Sometimes we feel it in our chest or in our stomach. Sometimes we feel it in our head. And you're going to describe how it feels. Like, pretend you're describing it to like an alien, someone who's never felt this feeling before, and you have to try to make it make sense. So let's say it's in my chest and it feels like a rock sitting on my ribs, or it feels like a tightening, like my chest or my heart is tightening, right? And then you describe what it looks like. It looks like tar filling up my lungs, something like that. Like it feels like green acid running through my veins, and it's just burning me. And then you just remind yourself that this is only happening because of sentences in your brain. You are not actually in any danger. These are just vibrations. You don't need to run. You don't need to yell. You don't need to curl up in a ball. You're not going to die. Actually, that's my favorite one. I love reminding myself that I'm not going to die. Because that's what anxiety feels like for me, right? Because a lot of the time anxiety comes with depression. So I would be in situations that I would start feeling anxious and feeling like I needed to run and hide. And then when I learned how to do this, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go sit down on the couch and I'm going to feel anxious. And I would just remind myself, this is just a feeling. I am not going to die. There is no danger here. And that helped a ton. So after you've done this, you name it, you find it in your body, you describe what it feels like, describe what it looks like, remind yourself that it's just happening because of sentences, and then just allow that feeling. Don't answer it with running away. Don't answer it with hitting something or with hiding in your room. Don't answer it with food or with alcohol. Just sit there and feel it. You give it its say, right? You give it its time to be there. You let those chemicals go until they run out, and then you can just relax. You don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to be like constantly scrolling Facebook so that you can avoid thinking and feeling about that emotion, because it's done, it's over, it's gone. And once it's over, you can go back to living, right? Go back to doing what you're doing. And in fact, I said that wrong. You don't go back to living. These emotions are part of living. We're supposed to have negative emotions, because if we didn't have the negative ones, how are we supposed to recognize and appreciate the positive ones? We spend so much time trying to avoid feeling these negative emotions, but we forget that they're all part of the plan. They're kind of the point. We're supposed to feel this way like 50% of the time. We're supposed to feel these negative emotions, so that the other 50% of the time we can really love those positive emotions. So last night, as I'm laying in bed, kind of crying to my husband, like, I can't believe I'm here again. This really sucks. Like, he just reminded me, but don't you know that it's supposed to happen this way? I was like, absolutely. Absolutely, it's supposed to happen this way. I'm supposed to be sad right now. And tomorrow I'm going to really dig in and find out what's been going on. And I did. I dug in and I found out that it was stress. that I was not allowing myself to feel stress. And that's okay. Because now I know, and now I have power over that. And now the next time I can do even better. I can allow myself to feel that emotion and move past it rather than resisting it, repressing it, and shoving it down. Think of like a beach ball, right? You can try to shove that beach ball down under the water, but eventually it's going to get out and it's going to make a big old splash, right? It doesn't have to. You can just feel it. Just allow the emotion. And then learn from it. What is going on in my head that I've been ignoring? If it was a friend, you would ask them, what is going on? I've noticed you haven't been yourself, and I really want to take care of you. So that's what I've been doing, and that's what I want to encourage you to do. Ask yourself questions. Find out what's going on. Have compassion for yourself. Love yourself. And when you have these negative emotions, remember nothing has gone wrong. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. Okay. I encourage you guys to practice this, and you guys can leave me a voicemail on anchor.fm, and I'd like to hear your experiences about this. And again, I apologize that I did not get this up on yesterday. But like I said, it is what it is. Can't go back in time and fix it. All I can do is move forward from it. So I love you guys, and hope this helps. Have a good week.